Welcome to the show, everybody. We have a great episode for you here. We're going to get a chance to meet with a gear manufacturer in our industry and talk to them about some cool and exciting things they're doing. I'm your host, Chad Pinkston. This is Sasquatch Backpacking. We got Alan with us, as we always do. As you guys know, his trail name is Rooster. But we're trying to be just a little bit more formal today as we get a chance to meet with some of the best manufacturers in the business. So I'd like to take a moment and welcome John Sears to the show. John is the vice president, I believe, of design and development. Is that right, John?
The brand in general in North America. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's with Gregory Mountain Products. You guys have probably bumped into their stuff all the time. In fact, I was out hiking this weekend in a place called the Yawari National Forest and came across a guy who had on a Gregory pack. And it looked pretty sharp. And so we invited John onto the show for a big reason. So as you know, we do a lot to try to grow hiking and backpacking amongst people who might be of size. And big and tall, you guys have heard us use the word hog mollies before. And we know that the industry itself doesn't necessarily appeal to people, or they run into roadblocks when they try to hike and they can't find gear that fits them. And Gregory did some stuff to acknowledge this, working with a group out of the Pacific Northwest, I believe, called the Unlikely Hikers. And it led to a product line for people of size. And so we asked John to come on here today. And so, John, can you tell us just a little bit about the history of Gregory packs and what type of culture they have in place?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Nice to be here with you guys today. Gregory's been around since '77, so we're a legacy outdoor company in the space, and we're founded on the idea that backpacks could fit better, carry better, and be more durable. So very simply, our founder Wayne Gregory, who I mentored underneath for many years. I've been with Gregory for about 20 years, coming up in May. So the brand itself is really founded on fit, comfort, and durability. And we were the first to kind of pioneer adjustable packs, customizable stay shapes, customizable hip belt angles. We launched the Diva pack, the women's Diva pack, women's specific pack many years ago that became kind of an iconic product in the industry. The sister pack to our Boltoro, which is another legacy pack. So yeah, really always been founded in fit and comfort. And the brand started in Southern California where I joined up with them. And then we moved around and ended up back here in Salt Lake City where we are today. And we have a headquarters office here right at the base of the Wasatch Mountains. So we can test right in the backyards, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
We have a prototype lab, sewers. We got a small team of really dedicated, passionate folks. And today we sell in over 45 countries. So we're still a small brand, but we're a really proud small brand. And we offer lifetime guaranteed high quality backpacks.
Yeah, I was noticing when I was up on the website doing some research, it goes as far as to mention the fact that you guys can put together a prototype and literally in Salt Lake City because it's so close to all sorts of outdoors activities. You guys are immediately just out the door with the pack to give it a try. Is that something you guys share with everybody in the office, or you got a certain group of guys who do that sort of thing? I mean, if I'm the guy there and I'm working at the front desk, can I just be like, hey, can I get a pack?
Yeah, we're so small, we don't even have a front desk.
Okay.
But yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter where you sit. So, we have it's marketing, design, and sales operations there. And so everyone, and everyone involved with the product creation process gets involved at the office. So we all get to get out and test anyone that is the right shape, size, personality, gender, or just activity, focused user. So, everyone and anyone. Absolutely.
Awesome. Alan, feel free to chime in. I asked Rooster or Alan to be on here just because he's a Gregory pack guy. You can see those two behind him. I think he said one of them was the Baltoro. Is that right, Alan?
Yeah, I got the Baltoro and I got the Paragon currently. And one of the things that struck me when I first started looking at packs and everything, I got invited by Chad and another friend of ours, Brian, to go backpacking. And so like everybody, I went out searching for packs. And I knew when I started that probably was going to be a little heavy as far as the gear that I was buying, because I'm a bigger dude and I just knew I was going to be buying heavier gear. And I knew, particularly at the time, I was, trying to be cost conscious and everything else. So I just kind of accepted weight was going to be part of the penalty of being cheap, which is basically me. So one of the things I found out was the fact that the Baltoro, like the ratings on it, like it was like, hey, it's a great pack all around, but it's if you got a heavier load or whatever, just like everybody just raved about it. So I went with that. And then as I got more into it, because at first you don't really know, are you really going to be into this thing or not? Like, you know, when you're over 1/8 of a ton, climbing up and down mountains is a little bit of a struggle to like, maybe this might not be for me, you know? So, but obviously I got more gear. I got, you know, some smaller stuff and things like that, some lighter weight. And so I went with a smaller pack for shorter hikes as well. So, love my Gregory pack. So when Chad talked about getting you guys to meet with us, I was kind of excited about it. But then like one of the things is, and being a bigger guy, you know, you do have the way things fit and things like that. And so, you know, this past summer, you know, it was announced that you guys were starting to carry a line of backpacks that tailored towards people of a diverse, you know, body sizes and, you know, what really kind of led to the development of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, our foundation, you know, ever since the beginning everything's been about fit. When I mentored, I started out at Gregory as a product designer. I'm an industrial designer by trade and engineer. And, you know, when I started out there, it was just drilled into me during my mentorship about how important understanding the different body angles are and how important it is to actually be able to customize these bags, just like your Baltoro. You know, you can swap out the components on that and put different length hip belts on it. The hip belt angles automatically adjust to your body. The shoulder straps automatically adjust with the angle because of those auto cants that rotate. Mm-hmm. So all those type of things we've developed over the years are kind of all grounded in this state of mind and this general philosophy that backpacks kind of have to, you know, almost have to think about them like a shoe, right? So people sometimes forget that about backpacks, and that's why we talk about the different size backpacks is really related to your torso length, your spine length. Right. And then there's the body fit, right? The body girth is a different topic. But first you got to get the body, you know, you got to get the shoe size right, or the spine length right. And that's the torso size. And if you don't get that right, I'll tell you, you know, you can have a bad day on the trail. So when you first are getting out there and kind of navigating the space, it's overwhelming. You know, there's so much gear out there. And so it's really important to kind of simplify that and just think about, you know, getting that pack size like you would your shoe size. You know, try it on, find what's comfortable, make sure you don't get something too big. That's a fatal mistake that most people make is, hey, I'm a XL t-shirt. I need a large bag or an XL bag. That's not the case at all. So the plus size, you know, extended sizing offering that we're going to talk about today addresses the body shape, but they come in multiple torso sizes or adjustable torso sizes. So two separate things. But really, that's where it kind of, you know, it was founded in that, and we started sending out extender straps. We've been doing that for years, and really, we just kind of said, you know what? Why don't we make a pack that's truly designed top to bottom to be properly fitting? You know, for 2X to 6X type apparel size ranges, right? You want to be careful comparing pack and apparel sizes, but it's a huge white space in the market and no one's addressing it. And we have tons of friends that are out there that are telling us, man, how do you guys expect me to fit this pack? And while we've had better solutions than, you know, some of our competitors for a while with things like the Baltoro, nothing compares to having a pack that's designed from the ground up to fit a larger person. Just like nothing compares to a pack designed to fit a woman, right? You can't take a men's pack and make it smaller. That doesn't work that way. You got to change the angles. You can't just, you know, shrink it or enlarge it. So the same thing with plus size. And that's where the idea was born. And we said to ourselves, well, this is silly. Why are we going to make one bag? Let's make a large suite of bags that covers every activity. You know, every price point, activity, and preference. So that way we have day hiking bags, hydration bags, entry-level backpacking products, as well as premium backpacking products, right? And also just some bang around casual day packs, because even those are a problem with really short harnesses. Yeah. So we basically went all in a couple of years ago and said, hey, let's build this thing. Let's build it properly. and treat these customers how we'd want to be treated. And, some of us are those customers, and so we said, let's also partner up with a group that can give us access to even more, diverse body shapes. And that's where the kind of partnership with Unlikely Hikers was born, as part of Gregory's Gateway initiative, which is really just to get more people outside, right?
Yeah.
And we partner with groups like Big City Mountaineers. We've been doing that for decades to just provide more equitable access in general. But this was something that we looked at ourselves in the mirror and said, you do that soul searching as a brand and you say, what are we uniquely equipped to do about this? And as a product company, as a backpack builder, what better thing to do than build stuff? So that's what we did, is we started building, and we realized it was a lot more than, just making the bag larger. It was also about accessibility to the straps and different angles and different shapes. And so it's been a fun process for sure.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting to hear you guys want to go after it. I think you called it this white space, because Alan and I fall in that white space. In fact, I met a guy hiking this weekend when I was out who was 7'3", and he falls into that same space. In fact, when I was talking to him, every piece of gear he had was custom, from his hammock to his backpack. He had to call up a manufacturer and get them to tweak it. Yeah. And so you touched on a couple of things there, and I definitely want all of our viewers to learn from this interview. So one of the things you talked about was getting the correct fit. And I don't know if Alan and I have ever really addressed that and when we've been out talking about gear on one of these episodes. And it's important that, wherever you get your gear, whether it be REI or some other gear store, that you take the time to go in and get measured, get fitted, get that torso length measured that John is talking about. That's extremely important. They can throw some bean bags in it that weigh 10, 15, 20 pounds. You can walk around the store. You can climb the stairs. So that's an important part of this. And a lot of times that is the first roadblock you're going to hit as a big guy when you walk in there and they give you a pack and, you go to click the hip belt and that sucker won't quite meet. In fact, I won't mention which manufacturer it is, but there's a couple on my back wall right here. And I had to go order an extension today just to make sure I'm getting enough leverage when I pull that waist belt. So it was interesting for you to mention that as well. There are, I think, a couple of, we'll call them flagship bags, and Alan can pull up some pictures for us so we can see it. But some flagship items that are in here, and I think this is the Katmai. Am I saying that right, John?
Yeah, that's right. Katmai 65.
Yeah, and this particular pack comes in a 50, I think a 55, a 60, and a 65 pack. And you can see right here, they have some cool features that you won't normally find in an everyday pack. They got those extended harness links that you see on there, that larger angle right up at the back between the shoulder straps, the hip belt. So, Rooster, now Alan can speak to this. Those hip belts, man, when they get too far off to the side of you, you can't get good leverage on them. You can't open the zipper. It gets hard to get in there and get stuff out, and this is where you're keeping, your chapstick, your knife, your snack bar, your headlamp if the sun's going down, that sort of thing. And they have an extended version right there you can see as well. So you can see right here, you really get that depth that you need to get your hand in that pack and take out anything you need. And man, I can't tell you, when Alan and I started looking at the images that we were getting, we couldn't have been happier with what we saw right there.
Yeah, just the ease of getting into the hip belts and that kind of thing. It looks like you're thinking about us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and I mean, we're kind of based in testing. So if we're not testing in the field, on the trail, then we're not making speculative design decisions, right? So we had packs on folks like yourselves and many others of a lot of different body shapes and sizes, and male and female, and everything in between, and it's worked out really well. But some of the things you guys just pointed out, I mean, you walked through really nice what goes on there, and it's not just about making things bigger, but it's about changing the angles so you can support a little bit wider neck angle. And the accessibility that you touched on is awesome, because bringing those hip belt pockets all the way around the front and not just adding a giant padding extender really makes a huge difference, because otherwise you can't reach the hip belt pockets, which are really convenient, access in the trail. And then the other piece of accessibility that's not really mentioned in these photos, is part of that kind of fine detail that you don't hear anywhere else. But We've also extended the load lifter straps out further, so those adjustments you can reach them easier. Those are those two straps in the top that you kind of pull the bag in towards your body, or to load up your hips with some more weight when you want to give your upper body a break. So yeah, all those things added up together, and then finding the right length of harnesses, and the right length of hip belt was a challenge. It took a long time, a lot of prototypes, a lot of testing, and there's never any one size fits all solution. We know that, but these bags, do not fit me, and they shouldn't, and they're intended for their purpose, and they're going to serve a much broader community of folks that need the option here.
Well, so, that's exactly one of the things we talk about, in the podcast and just talking in general is that fact that, like, the first step is just to start, just to start. Right. And when you can find gear that fits, it makes it a whole lot easier to feel a little bit comfortable when you're getting out there. Like, when you put on a bag that's too small, it, and you start getting out there and you are almost self-conscious trying to get into the thing, and so the idea of having a bag that's built to fit us is something that's really, really exciting. So,
well, yeah, we've seen tears in the eyes in this one, testing people putting on a bag for the first time after a couple prototypes, landing with the right size. And I'll tell you, the emotional response has been so motivating for everybody in our team. Because I'll tell you, every person in our company has gotten involved in this project because it's just a fun one to be involved with. It's really gratifying. It's really rewarding. It comes with its own set of challenges, just like any product development does. But there's an aha moment when you get into a piece of gear for any size person. I see tons of people, large and small, on the trail that are misfit all the time. And when you get into the right size backpack, no matter what your body shape, whether you're a small or a 6X, you are getting this kind of revelation aha moment. It's like putting on a really comfortable pair of boots or a really comfortable pair of shoes, where it just makes a world of difference. And so that's what we always try to provide, because the end game here is just to get more people outside. And like you said, if you're battling your pack, man, nothing else goes well on the trip. So you gotta, that's where it all starts.
Yeah, and literally all starts and stops at the backpack, right? I mean, that's the first thing you do when you get going, and when you get to the
that
spot,
and your shoes. That's
exactly.
What we love, kind of analogy to making sure you pay just as careful attention to that, getting that size right in your backpack as your shoes. And hey, now come May 15th, there's gonna be a lot more options available.
Yeah, so there's two things there that really excite me. So again, the way I like to word that backpack and getting the right fit is a backpack should be an extension of you. It's almost like putting on shoulder pads when you're playing football, or like a shoe, which everybody can attest to a good fitting shoe. But you can also remember when you've had a bad fitting shoe too, and how quickly you got out of that thing. So a pack is definitely an extension of your body. It's you put it on, but once it's on you, it should fit well and it should feel right. And I love the fact that when I'm looking at this particular diagram right here, up in the top hand corner, it says it fits 2X to 6X. So for Alan and I, it starts where everybody else stops. And you could probably tell it in my face and Alan's too when he started to smile when I said this. It's exciting to see that. But one of the other things I noticed about this, and I noticed in the article that I read, is it looks like you're literally testing this on people who have definitely a bigger or different, more diverse body size, and that's pretty cool. Can you speak to anything about like how you guys found these particular models or people you test your product on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Unlikely Hikers, that's where Jenny Brusso and her group came in, which was absolutely key, because we basically went to her and said, let's grab a range of folks. Tell us what you're seeing out there and what requests you're seeing. How big? I mean, we started out going, how big of a range do we want to be fitting here, right? And ultimately, from the testing, the hip belt is where, from a physics perspective, that's where you should be carrying the majority of the weight of the backpack when you can, right? For both men and women, the majority of the weight should be kind of transferring onto the hips. It's just where your body's kind of built to carry the weight. And so that means that the hip belt's the most important part. And we ended up saying we want to be able to fit 60-inch waists, right? So hips and waist, there's an in-between area because backpack fit, you kind of want to get the hip belt above your hips a little bit, up a little closer to your waist, so that you can have some transfer of load, kind of almost some purchase on this angle. And granted, we know people are shaped totally differently, just depends. But ideally, you can get up high enough where you can get some purchase. And to do that, we said, you know what, we need to fit a 60-inch circumference on the waist, and so that's where we landed there. And the upper body kind of follows suit. That's a little bit more tricky one because girth and the torso height come into play and everything else. So that the harnesses are extended significantly. We had some prototypes that were actually too long in some cases, and so a lot of playing around with those different lengths of padding versus straps. So you can see this guy right here. I think he's a 2X. He's in the smaller side, so that's kind of some of the insight on how we landed there. The sternum strap, obviously, needed to be. I think the one in this particular photo is actually short. That thing's actually quite a bit longer than what you see in that photo, but the sternum strap that goes across the chest also is quite large on these bags. Bigger than.
Yeah, I think we're getting the sternum strap from the smaller pack is what we can see there, right there, because of the cut through. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, our mentality here was on the remaining, like, make sure the padding gets long enough, right, to be comfortable. You want it to kind of wrap around that center point of your body. And then as far as the straps go, we'd rather have some extra length there than not. So this will fit a 60-inch circumference in the waist with enough webbing to still grab onto with your hand and tighten.
Yeah.
So it's not 60 max. It's like 68.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Another thing I noticed is right beside the hip pocket, you can see that little extra little wedge up on the top, which is really just an extension of that hip belt. Sort of helps hold that belt. When you get a big belly like me and you got some girth, a belt wants to roll over. And so what I see there is a nice wide belt, an obvious length. You can see that extra length, and then that little wedge right there really helps secure that belt and pull it tight and have it sitting up against your hip.
Yep.
I cannot wait to get
that wedge extends even further, so you get an extra 3 inches on each side with that thing if you want to pull it out even further. And yeah, exactly, it kind of protects and spreads out that weight on that whole area and region of your body. So it just provides further comfort, covers up that buckle. It's a really comfortable bag.
Yeah. So I think I heard you say, John, that this product line is going to be out in May. Is that right?
Yep, May 15th. It'll be available. The Katmai, Kalmia, Miwok Maya, those will be available on REI. And then the whole suite of products will be available on GregoryPacks.com, as well as a number of other online retailers and stores. So yeah, we're excited.
And so Alan's showing you a picture of the Aereo. Am I saying that? I think I'm saying that right. The Aereo.
Aereo. Yep.
Yeah, it comes in an 18, a 22, and a 24. I like the slickness of that pack too. It looks good.
Yep. So in the plus sizes, they come in the 22 and 24, and it comes in 2 different colors of each as well. And these are kind of gender neutral bang around trail packs, right? And you can see there that shoulder harness and hip belt are dramatically extended to make sure that they're going to be comfortable and wrap around that. You kind of want a harness to wrap around at least under your armpit. Yeah. That padding coverage, and then that stabilizer. Hip belt, it's just a simple strap. So some people even prefer to take it off, but it's nice to be able to have that wrap all the way around you if you want to stabilize.
Yeah, I think a lot of times it depends on how far you're going with it and things like that. If you're just taking a quick hike up the hill to see a site or something like that, maybe you don't want it. But then if you're going for a little bit more mileage or whatever, then maybe you put it on and it makes sense.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and then in addition to these two, then you have you have the Miwok and Maya, which are it's like an 18 liter and a 16 liter. Those are the more premium day packs, in that $100, $99 price point, versus these Areos are more $90, and they're the ventilated versions. And then you have the Stout and Ambers, which basically are the men's and women's versions of our entry level backpacking. Still really nice. They're Gregory entry level, which means they're still not the least expensive bags, but everything we make is pretty premium. And like I said, lifetime guaranteed. But Those are at 169 and 209 for the Stout 45 and Stout 70, or the Amber 44 and the Amber 65. And then we also have hydration, which is the Citra and Juno packs, which come in the 30 liters. Those are $150. And the nanos are just kind of bang around, gender unisex, 16 and 20 liter bang around price point day packs at, 45 and $70. And also important to note, pricing, boy, we learned how important pricing is, and we decided just to keep the prices the same. So these prices are not any different than the standard size bags, and the pricing stays consistent. So that's our commitment to this category, and an investment Gregory's making in the community, because as you can imagine, these products cost more to make. But
I have to say I'm a little surprised to hear that. I think that's kind of awesome.
I agree.
We've often talked about the fact that when we go to buy something, we expect to see that plus whatever. When you hit that 2x or 3x, there's another $10 or another $20 or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, we said let's keep the prices the same, and let's like the mentality of the whole thing. These are our friends, our people, our staff, everybody. It's like there's no reason to be doing that. We can cost average across, and it's an investment we're willing to make. So we're excited to do that, and it feels like the right thing to do.
Awesome. So one of the things you talked about there was a hydration pack. I know when we were doing some research here, we came across this, which I had never seen before. I don't think Alan had either. Was this 3D Hydro Trek bladder? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to. So we have 3 different hydration systems. This one's just launching now here in in February of 2021 here. So this is about to hit the shelves, but this is a really unique product. All of our reservoirs, we have a standard 2 liter and a 3 liter one out now, and the 3 liter comes in that Citra and Juno hydration plus size pack I just talked about.
Yep.
And what makes those things unique is we have a patented process where we form the soft molded film, and essentially what you get is a reservoir that kind of behaves like a hydration reservoir, but it dries out more like a water bottle. So you just take the top off and shake it out, and it holds its shape so the air can flow through there and actually dries out. Where if you've had experience with reservoirs before, kind of a pain in the butt, they're really hard to dry. You got stick hangers into them, or your spatula, and do all kinds of stuff. So these are self-drying, that 3D shape. This one in particular, if you are getting into backpacking at all, this one's really cool because everyone's got a problem with where to put this reservoir when you're backpacking. When you first start out, you might be able to put it down on that hydration sleeve, but all your gear's in there. 1, you worry about popping it. 2, you worry about getting it back in there once you pull it out. You got to remove all your gear. So this thing is really clever. It's designed to go on the top of your backpack. So it sits right in that top skirt, and you just cinch the skirt around it. And it's designed to be that same kind of shape, that more rectangular shape versus the really elongated shape that you normally would see in a hydration reservoir. So it fits in the top of your bag. You can plug your water filter right into it to refill it when you want to pump water. So you just flip open your top lid, plug it in, and refill right there out of the stream with your gravity filter or your pump filter. And then the other really cool thing is, we don't have all those pictures to show you right now, right here, but is that when you pop off that cap, there's actually a pour spout, almost like a wine, a box of wine. So you can basically pour water right into your, cooking apparatus or your jet bowl or whatever while you're in camp. So it becomes almost like a camp kitchen as well. So it's got these various modes where you can hang it up with a strap and use it as a camp kitchen while you're in camp, or you can refill directly, but you can also, store it really easily right on the top of your backpack. So it's got a bunch of really clever features. So if you are going backpack and you're thinking about a reservoir, this is a great one to use because it's, it's more manageable. Always recommend carrying a water bottle as well. If you're going, just in case, because reservoirs do pop, just like water bottles do break. Yeah. You wouldn't carry just one water bottle. But these things are ultra durable. It's got thicker film for backpacking. So yeah, it's a fun new product, and it's the first reservoir fully dedicated to backpacking. So.
Yeah, so when Alan and I saw this and we started talking about it, both of us drifted away from having a water bladder reservoir in our packs just because of the very thing you described there, John, where it starts to eat up the space inside of your pack. And as soon as we saw this, and now even more so after your description, I'd be willing to give putting a bladder back in my bag again instead of having all these bottles all over me just because of
man, they're cool. You got to get them dry. I did. So 2020 was a very unique year. So I had the opportunity to do more backpacking than I've done in about 10 years. So I got out on like 7 trips, which for me was awesome because we were finishing up the testing on the Katmai Kalmia, working on some really cool new products for 22, and testing this the whole way along, which was really a fun product to refine and play with out in the field. So it's a keeper, man. I as well drifted away from the reservoir because I always put mine on the top and it's always falling off, slopping out the sides.
Yeah.
And it's just too difficult to manage. So this one just slides right inside that top skirt, or you can strap right over the top. If your bag's really full, you can put it on top of the skirt and use your top compression strap to kind of hold that thing on underneath the handle. So cool, clever product for sure.
Sweet.
Huh. Thanks for bringing that one up. That's a good one.
So there are 4 or 5 questions we ask everybody who comes on the show, man. And so we're gonna bounce these 4 hitters off of you and just give us your honest answer. So I mean, you've already said you hike. So when did you first start hiking?
My first backpacking trip was my sophomore year of high school. I did a ton of camping when I was a kid, but my first backpacking trip was my sophomore year of high school. I did it with a external Kelty frame that I bought for $40 from a buddy. And I used it for years. It's a great pack.
Awesome. Favorite place? Alan and I are big East Coast guys, but you're in Salt Lake City, it sounds like. So I imagine it's probably more West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I do a ton in the Uintas out here now, and I do a ton down in southern Utah. When I was in California, I used to do a bunch in the Eastern Sierras. I love the North Fork, South Fork area up by Bishop. But right now, because we're always looking for greener pastures, I miss the creeks and the lush forest of the Smoky Mountains, man.
Oh man,
those are some of my favorite places. And Gregory Bald and Mount Sterling and all those places are where I built all my high school memories with my close buddies who I'm still friends with to this day. And I miss the Smokies.
Yeah, I live, I don't know, maybe 2 hours from the Smokies, and it's almost sad to say I think I'm embarrassed. I haven't been there yet. I got a couple of trips this summer with a group of guys that I hike with that were planning to go up there, and they rave about the Smokies. So
beautiful, man, beautiful.
And then the other thing you touched on, which I knew nothing about until I watched a documentary called The High Line, was the Uintas. I didn't even know that existed, and then I saw it, and I immediately was like, I got to go there.
They're shut down, and they're shut down pretty much in the winter. But there are tons of lakes up there, and they're just beautiful, hiking all over the place. Kings Peak is one I did this year. I mean, it's a 13,000 foot plus peak, so you can get some elevation out there as well. But a lot of beautiful high alpine lakes, a lot of pine forests out there. It's beautiful, beautiful country.
Sweet. Favorite piece of gear other than a pack? I'm going to throw a caveat on this one. Other than a favorite piece of gear?
JetBoil.
JetBoil. Yeah, we hike with another guy that we work with, and we figured out a way to sucker him into bringing the JetBoil every time, and we just bring our own water and use his JetBoil every.
Yeah, man,
I'm willing to bring it, but he's like, I'm bringing mine anyway. I'm like, well, in that case, that's fine. Yeah. I'll just leave my pot and I'll save a little weight that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very exciting, but it's that or a really good sleeping bag are pretty invaluable. I like to drink hot coffee in the morning and sometimes tea at night, and I like to be able to fire something up real fast with that thing.
Cool. Favorite trail meal?
Oh man, I eat really well when I backpack. So I love to eat. I love to cook. So for me, I always start out my first night. I always freeze either some Wagyu beef, and then I let it thaw out on the trail, and so I'll just eat that and some rice or pasta. But a couple days in, I love making chicken pesto pasta. fresh garlic. So you can carry that all out there. It'll last, and it's a really pretty gourmet backcountry meal if you want to put the effort in and roast some garlic. And,
we're taking a hike in April if you want to, like. No.
If you just want to just cook, we'll bring everything.
We'll be on the AT in Shenandoah. It's going to be great.
I could talk food, backpacking food for just a 30-minute podcast in itself, man. I love good hard salamis and cured meats and good red wine when I'm backpacking. So that's why our backpacks carry so much weight. I think it's because I'm like, my average weight I think was 57 pounds this summer. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you carry, well, you know what? By the time I take the pack that I carry into account and the extra weight I'm probably carrying 57 pounds when I think about it. Well, dude, I appreciate you taking the time, and I cannot tell you how excited Alan and I are to see that Gregory was going after this part of the market. It's going to open up, I think, a lot for people. It's not going to deter them away from it, which some of the other gear does. If you're not willing to make either a big investment or you go out, and you don't know what you're looking at and you get overwhelmed by all the options out there. And so we're thrilled that Gregory is doing this and that you guys had time to come and talk with us. And we just really appreciate your time.
Anytime, man. Chad, really, really nice talking to you. You know where to find me. I'm happy to jump on anytime. And Alan, yeah, nice to meet you. And we'll see the rooster on the trail at some point.
You can't miss me.
All right. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. You guys have a good one.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, John.